Hello and merry meet. It is time for the Thursday open spiritual panel. So I'm going to share real quick. The Thursday open spiritual panel. So I'm going to share real quick. There we go. All right. All right. Welcome. So I am Rowan Ravenwolf, and I am live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Thursday is spiritual panel. And this week's topic is anger. So I thought how good it, like we just talked last week, spiritual panel was on trolls. And we talked about, trolls in real life. And we talked about trolls online. And yeah, I have my light at a weird angle right now. Okay, I'm getting a weird glare. You guys don't see it, but I see it. So, because it's coming right in my eye. And so this week it is on anger. And I was like, when I was contemplating, I was like, this actually kind of works out really well with the troll aspect that we dealt with. So very excited to be here. And so thank you to everybody who's joined. If you are just joining now, this is a spiritual safe place. And spiritual panel is open. So if you would like to join, you can actually just click the join button and I'll let you up if you want to join the live. So please feel free, and just making sure. Okay. Just checking to see if I need to invite anybody else. So hopefully we'll have a couple more people jump up so that we can discuss anger. One of the reasons I did kind of want to talk about it is grief. So we all have gone through the grief cycle, and anger is one of the stages of grief. And so with that said, next week, we are going to talk about, all of a sudden I'm blanking. We're going to talk about denial. So the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I'll probably combine a couple of them together. We'll see how it goes. Actually, I think denial and bargaining would be good to combine together. So when we're dealing with anything, any type of trauma, or even if we're just not happy, sometimes we're going to have anger. And that is kind of one reason why I want to talk about it. Plus, our trolls sometimes might make us angry, as we leave last week. Welcome, Bryn.
Yes, trolls, they're really good to, let out the anger on. Because, yeah, they can take it.
Yes, they can. I mean, if they can dish it, they can take it, right?
Precisely. And I actually have something that might be a little bit like, oh, wow, really? About Hinduism. Because there is a certain constellation in a certain sign that is all about unleashment of anger. And it is in a way that it is considered like acting in divine order. There is a spot for anger, and it's justified and it's needed. So we'll get to that in a bit.
That sounds good. Ooh, exciting. So I'm sure we all have anger. And we've dealt with it. I know, I was going through I always say when I was going through my dark time, because I was going through some pretty heavy stuff. And a friend of mine gave me this book. And actually, Alien T had brought it up, and I'm like, I wonder if he's talking about the same book. And then when they typed it in the chat, I'm like, yep, it's the same book. If you haven't ever heard of Thich Nhat Hanh, he is just amazing. And he passed away pretty recently. It might have been 2 years ago, but
That was recent.
yeah, it was really recent. And he's just wise beyond his years, and had so much to contribute. If you could pick enlightened people, I would pick him. So, and like this book really did make a huge impact in my life because I was extremely angry. You know, when you're dealing with some types of trauma, anger comes with it. I know the scary thing that is with anger is that sometimes if we let it fester too much, it actually can turn to hate. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that like I kind of stopped mine because I think anger can be healthy and at the same time it can be unhealthy, but it becomes unhealthy when we let it fester and turn into hate to where we hate either certain groups or hate every, like, just where hate just like drips from your pores. You guys probably have all like had an experience with someone like that. And and actually, you know, sometimes those online trolls are dripping with hate. And anger can really definitely get into that realm. Bren, anything you want to add before we like jump into questions?
Well, now here comes me with the monkey wrenches. Because the way that I see anger, it is natural. It is part of humanity. It is needed. It has its place. And now you got to keep in mind there is anger for being mistreated and responding and standing up for oneself. There is anger in acting like enraged, bloodthirsty. There's anger because of lack of self-control. There is anger for failing either oneself or someone else. There can even also be anger against divinity for not responding and not being present. There is so many variations of anger, but at the core of it all, anger is a facet that everyone has. I mean, even Christ had anger, even though how he did it was table flip. That is a type of anger. It's not overly hostile, but it is responding in a way that's jolting. And it does have some level of aggression to it. Regardless of the level of it, it is still an act of it. So the whole concept and idea of like, oh no, don't get angry, don't get mad, it's not good for you. No. Because what you're doing is without even knowing it, you're indirectly training yourself and telling yourself, I can't feel that. Because that feeling isn't right. But it's natural. It's just how it just happens. When you defy the natural order looks at you and goes, you're cute. That's not going to happen. That's like even also like saying, oh, death, you can't get me. Doop, doop, doop. You were saying?
Well, no, I agree with you there. I'm just saying, like, when you let it fester so much that you, like, it turns to a very scary hate.
And actually, it's a good thing you said because that just jolted something else in my head. Now, a type of mistreatment that is known as reactive use. That's when an aggressor keeps going at somebody and keeps intentionally doing things that gets them to a point where they explode, and then they say, "Wow, you're acting out of line." That what? Yeah, it's see now even I have the anger table flip trying to come out, but when somebody is provoking or poking the bear, then when the bear smacks someone, and then they say, "Oh, that bear is so mean, it just backhanded me." Well, you kept poking it. That's not really, at least my opinion, that's not really seen as like a loss of control. That's more like a form of protecting yourself to the point where you have to do what you have to do in order to protect yourself. And in this case, it's like, stop poking me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so many, like, so I'm just going to bring up an example. So there's a person that I know, and they have a lot of really good qualities, but for some reason, they hate a specific group. And I happen to, I mean, I go at it. I've always, even when I was Christian, before I was pagan, I've always just had love for every living thing. That's just my philosophy. And actually, if you look at it, most spiritual paths and most religions have that. Now, doesn't mean I don't get angry, because I do. As a matter of fact, just like, yeah, it was yesterday. I got really angry yesterday. But it went away. Like, I vented it out and I was fine. I said my funny comment that my husband's like, I only hear that when you're really angry. And I was like, yeah, I was really angry. But this particular person, I've asked the person on multiple occasions, what did this group do to you? So you can just imagine any group, political, spiritual, ethnic, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to say the group. I'm not going to say the person's name. But the hate for this group is so strong. I had posted on one of my social medias a quote from Anne Frank. And the quote does not pinpoint, it doesn't even pinpoint the Germans during World War II. It doesn't even pinpoint that. Sorry, I don't know if I can say what they were on TikTok, because I know they're so sensitive, but it doesn't even pinpoint that. It just talks about how you need to be, it was a quote talking about how compassionate you need to be for other people. And the person texted me this angry text that I'm like not a good person because I'm supporting this particular group. And I'm like, wow, I have 2 cousins that are part of this group. I have many dear friends and teachers and mentors that are part of the group, that honestly, if I had to pick between this person and all the people that I love that are part of this group, I would pick the people that I love that are part of the group, because I've learned more. But the hate is so severe. The person's been blocked from social media, so then they start new accounts up, and it's like a vicious cycle. But I've said multiple times, why do you have so much hate in your heart and so much anger towards this group? And they can't even tell me why. So that's where it gets dangerous. Or if the anger gets so bad that you actually have to unalive somebody. I think those are like places where we need to like say, ooh, you know what? Is this anger healthy? And with that, so we're going to lead into our first question. When is anger healthy and when is anger unhealthy?
So I get to bring this in. Alrighty. Let me get my notes on my computer screen real quick. But while I'm doing that, as you're hearing bonk noises in the background, don't mind that. I wanted to also add about an incident like you were just mentioning about somebody having a hissy fit because of a group of people. Now, when it comes to things like that, I like to play this lovely game called Let's Make It Idiot Proof. Okay, so tell me, why do you have so much hate for these individuals? Has this group ever done anything to you personally? Literally anything? Not at all? Okay. So why are you making the choice just to have this hissy fit about them? Just a hissy fit? Really? Why? Why hissy fit? Why make your lifespan shrink more for people existing? Are you really going to let that happen? You're going to make yourself kick the bucket faster because people exist. Yeah. Logic isn't logicking. But it's even, for goodness sakes, because I can understand to an extent. Like, say, for an example, there are people that are in a circumstance where, they were attacked in a moment of history, and then this group of people, or, a survivor of, a really dark time of history, encounters another nationality of an individual that was actually part of their culture getting swung at. So having that fear, I can understand. But if they don't have anything really at all to be backing it up, probably the best example here are the K ghosts. Yeah, the white okay ghost. Like, ooh. Now, when I see that, it makes me go, really? This isn't Dungeons and Dragons. Take that crap off your head. This isn't Dungeons and Dragons time, okay? Besides, stop lighting a giant, well, I think you know what the symbol for in the Celtic faith about the upside down cross, right? You know what that symbolizes, right? How come? Okay, you don't need to be lighting, man parts like that and then putting them on people's property. Come on now. See why? I know. I'm just like taking that whole thing and flipping it upside down and making it kind
I'm
of.
actually glad you said that. I had like, I don't know, I was the oddball. Where I grew up, like, there wasn't a lot of diversity.
Mhm.
And so and when I say oddball, most of my friends were ethically diverse. And so one of my friends happened to be one that the group you're just talking about doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And we were best friends. We ate lunch together every day from like elementary school through about seventh grade. And I didn't even know that group was in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought they were just all in the Bible Belt. I knew they were still around, but I didn't know that they were in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that. They burned that on their lawn. And so they ended up moving to an area where actually completely out of state so that they could be in a neighborhood of people of the same color.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so sad. Like, we wrote each other for a while and then we lost touch. And I always wondered, like, is she okay? What is she doing? Because she was like one of my best friends, And then, like, you're talking about that, I was so angry at that group, And if anything, I don't like that group. I'll be honest, but I remember I had a lot of anger towards that group because, like, you put people's lives in danger for what? Their skin color was not the color you wanted it to be. I mean, what is that? What's that about?
And I mean, it's kind of like you're there. It's like continuing on. What it's like. I mean, the way I'm looking at it's like this. Okay, you have the ghost case. I'm just gonna call them that, the ghost case. You're having these people push this anger from, let's just say, like, all the way back at the very beginning. They're pushing an anger that is hundreds of years old still. And it's like, really? You're going to let some guy that's really low in the ground, like we're getting close to the Earth's crust at this point, you're going to let that take control of you and blind you? You're going to continue that? Why? That, you know what they say, once it's kicked the bucket, let the bucket still be kicked. You don't have to pick it back up again. Hey, Devi. And so now there is, now when speaking of Devi, I think she'll appreciate this. The constellation in Gemini that I was speaking about is known as Aurada Nakshatra. And Aurada is known as the howler, the one that screams, the one that goes, ah! And it is associated with Rudra Deva, who is a form of Mahadev, Lord Shiva, and he's known to be with destruction. But now, Aurada is also symbolized by the mournful teardrop, a skull, or a diamond. And Aurada is also the type of energy that is dignified anger. It's like anger that is coming out to cause destruction, to cleanse and wash away impurities, to drive out impurities. But it's also the protecting force that defends, those that are innocent, because the constellation before this one is Mixra, which is symbolized as an innocent fawn, like a young fawn, a young deer that is very gentle, very easy. But when the hunters come after the fawn, that's when Aurada comes in like, no, you're not going to take this fawn. Oh. But that's Aurada. That is a type of anger that's being enacted to safeguard something that's innocent and can't defend itself. And that is, at least how I'm seeing it, that is a type of anger that is, just, I would say, justified because you're using your anger, you're using that adrenaline to go after something that is seeking to cause harm to something which is not able to defend itself or safeguard itself. Another good example is like, this is probably the big one. When you have somebody like working in a unit, a health unit, that is with people that are having like Alzheimer's, dementia, or things like that, there are also those, or even there was another type of care, those that are like handicapped. You have individuals that are not able to comprehend that well, but when you have somebody that works there mistreating them or mocking them, and then when you have somebody come out of left field and say, "Hey, you're not gonna do that to them," because they can't comprehend what's going on because they're only experiencing what they can. But if somebody's taking a stand for that individual that can't fend for themselves, that is seen as a way of having dignified anger, because you're protecting that what is not able to, doesn't have the means to defend itself. But when it gets out of hand, well, this is like probably the best example is when you have a group of people thinking that, oh, we're going to spread the word, convert or, which is like, really?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, you're going to give people an ultimatum. Is either they believe what you do or you're going to end them. Really? I mean, how? Real? Wow. I mean, can you not just turn your caboose the other way and just walk away and let people do their thing? No? Okay. So, looks like somebody's not confident in their faith.
And I think those are great examples. Yeah, we do have to protect those that are innocent and are unable to protect themselves. I think that was like a really great example. Unfortunately, I think it probably hits home for a lot of people too. Thank you. Thank you, Sada. Thank you so much. And I hope I said your name right. Well, I'll just say Sophia. So thank you for the gifts. We really appreciate it. This is Open Spiritual Panel. We are talking about anger tonight. So if you do want to come up, anybody who's watching, please feel free to just request and I'll let you up. So I am going to read a quote. And of course, it's Kainachin. So I really do like this quote. Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our hearts we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. So, thoughts on that? So when I was really, really super angry, when I was going through my dark time, because I was literally going through the grief process because of a horrific trauma that happened, and I was, so angry. And it was starting to get unhealthy. It was actually affecting my health because I was so angry. I had to learn how to kind of let it go. That was why my friend sent this book. So just so that everybody kind of, if you're, actually, I'll flip. So if you don't know, a friend had gifted it to me and wait, I think I'm having issues. Mirror. That's what I need. I need mirror. So here's the book. So, I hit a point where it wasn't healthy for me and it was actually dragging me down and creating negativity and creating health problems. We talked about that when we were reading the last book for Witchy Book Club, how we create our own problems. We do need to let it out. Oh, if you let that anger fester inside you, it is so unhealthy. So I do like that quote. Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. It will hold us back. But like Bren said, there are certain instances where it's important. Like there are times and we talked earlier about like sometimes we need to defend ourselves. Like yesterday, I was angry. I had to defend myself. Somebody made an allegation that they did apologize because they were in the wrong, but I was so angry. So I was really angry. I was dropping the F bomb. I was like, no, 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 Um, so sometimes we do have to like, you know, get it, let it out, punch a pillow. But we do have to also be careful at the same time. But I noticed just the unhealthy anger actually drags you down. So, Bren, what are your thoughts on that quote?
Hmm. Now, okay, now here's going to be something that this takes a lot of practice. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. You can have a loathe for something or an intense hate for something, but not let it affect you and still function out through your daily life. But when that thing that you intensely loathe comes around, you're able to say what you need to say about it and keep going. That is that perfect balance. Now, of course, there are some people that would assume that, but you're still holding on to the hate. Nope, I wasn't. I was just fine until it came into my peripheral vision. And if I see something like that for whatever's caused it, pinning it down and getting it out, and then keep moving forward. But now, if we're going to go like this instead, it comes around and then you go on it, then you just keep going and you don't stop. That's different. But going at it, saying what needs to be said and keep moving, that's different. You're allowing that anger to come out because you're feeling it. Done, move. And that's not holding on to it. And that is something that I've been trying to also even teach my grandmother about. Because in the past, when having like certain employers and explaining to her that the ways that they treated me and the way that their decisions impacted me in a way that did cripple me, and then her response saying, well, you have to let go of that anger about them. But I'm just telling you what has transpired because of that choice. I'm not holding on to it. If I was holding on to it, I'd be still ranting and raving about it daily, but I'm not. That's a very thin, fine line difference. When you're able to say what needs to be said regarding it and then move forward, that's not holding on to it. And some people would still even say, well, you're still holding on to it. Well, if I'm holding on to it, I'm having it have a spot in my brain every day then. But that's not the case. That's a really minor detail.
I'm glad you said that because here's another really great quote. I would not look upon anger as something foreign to me that I have to fight. I have to deal with my anger with care, with love, with tenderness, with non-violence. I think that's where the balance comes in because some people don't know how to handle that care without violence. And some people can be angry and not be violent. And that's a learning process. But we also have to like you're saying, Brent, it's okay to have anger, but we have to let it go. And I know like over time, like something like yesterday. So it was my regular job. I had to deal with something and I had to defend myself from a false allegation. And today I was like, I was fine. I had my little vented, let it out, let my steam out. Plus I'm also a fire sign. So yeah, I let that out yesterday. And then today I like responded and was able to I handled it well because of the fact that yesterday when I was upset, I was able to just get that anger out. And, for me, like sometimes it's just talking about it or dropping the F-bomb. So sometimes I just feel good if I just drop the F-bomb, I don't think we can say that word on TikTok either. But I think that's a really good point, though, Brian.
That also reminds me now. Here's another big major thing regarding like things like about having something be let go. Now, this will include for everybody. Now when you have somebody tell you, Just let go of it, get over it. It's over and done with. It's in the past now. Okay. But then when you make a mistake, they then bring up all the other mistakes and they just start naming all the bad things you've done. That's when you turn to them and say, you know what? I'm going to hold this against you. Remember when you did this? But you're supposed to let it go. No, 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 no. You don't. Hey, if you're going to throw the stuff back at me, well, now you face your shit too. And that's something that my grandfather has done. Every time where he's pulled something that I made a mistake in the past, I'm like, remember that night when you got my throat and you flung me into the house? I didn't do that. Oh, yeah, I know you did, and I know you remember. Just face it and accept it. Oh, you won't? Okay. God, it makes him back off every time. But that's, again, when you are having something needing to be let go, when you do let it go, if somebody then tries to bring up something from the past that you made like a mistake, now, again, like I said, this takes a lot of mental gymnastics and flexibility and what's that word? Pliability. I'm going to go with that word. But when you have the ability to, how am I trying to say this? If somebody weaponizes your past mistakes, but yet they tell you that you have to let it go for like the mistakes they did, no, no, because if you're going to tell somebody to let go of the past and move forward, then you better be that grandmaster that can go, oh, whoopsies happened, and move forward and never bring it up again. Because that is like, if you're going to hold me to that standard, you better model that thing like if you're walking the runway then. My grandfather does not model that well at all. It's like, okay, you want me to have that belief that this never happened and it's over and done with? Okay. Oh, a big hissy fit moment. Oh, I did what? Remember when you did this, and then that, and then that? Wait, I never did that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But yes, you did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, some people would say, but you're holding on to it, you haven't let it go. But here's the thing. He's bringing it up for me. I wasn't in that state in the first place. There's a difference, a key difference. I'm not choosing to go like, you know what, Grandpa, I don't like you because you did this and this and this to me. I don't do that every day. But when you have somebody who gets ticked at the slightest thing and then brings up everything, at that point, and this is what I'm big about, you can make a choice, and if you're choosing to sit in your hissy fit, you're choosing the hissy fitter. And the worst part is when you are aware of having the problem, but yet you refuse to do something to try and fix it. If you make the choice to not fix, yet you're aware of it, you are more of a problem. Because that shows you do not want to put in that investment in yourself to help yourself get out of it. That is your choice. So, boop!
Yep.
Voice crack.
Well, and like that example that you brought up, that creates anger. Like if you're the one that's being told you need to forgive and move on and forget about it and not hold this anger, and then they bring something up, and I know this has probably happened to everybody because I can think of so many times it's happened to me. It's a relationship ruiner. It really is. Like when it's family, you kind of have a little bit more room for forgiveness versus if it's a friend or an acquaintance or something, or like a significant other, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Because there is a difference. Like if it's a spouse, there's going to be a little different than if it's somebody that you're dating.
Yeah, and I mean, in that regard, but now, because the way that I look at it, if it's family, I look at it, it's like, okay, since you're family, you're around me the most, you know how I am most of the time, so you better be aware that if you're aware of an issue that you have, you keep doing it over and over again, and keep bringing it up, I'm holding you to a stricter standard. Because you are around me so much that you should know. That's just me.
No, and they should. That's why it's a little different when it's a boyfriend girlfriend situation versus a spouse, because you're around your spouse all the time. Now, it doesn't mean because a lot of times those spouses that do that type of activity, they're just not going to be healthy for you because they have an anger and they're just constantly like, you know, bringing that up. That actually can ruin the relationship because you don't have, you know, like you could be in a relationship for 20, 30 years and they could say, remember what you did that first year we were dating 20 years ago? Like, probably not a good idea. Like, really, you haven't moved on from that? Like, let's move on. Let's not bring that up, you know?
And, I'm kind of glad you actually did, kind of turn in that direction, because now here's another thing. Because this is going to be a really challenging one to kind of see, but if you can catch it, because I'm here, this is really good. So, grandfather was, I'll just say it, physically, emotionally, mentally abusive, okay? And the significant other of mine, he did lose control of himself, and I did have to have law enforcement come and take him for my safety. But now here's the thing. When I was moving out of the apartment where me and him lived at, because legally I had to do that at the time, I went to turn the keys in to the person acting as landlord, and then they informed me that night there was somebody calling in saying that there was a young guy who just in basketball shorts, no shoes, running up and down the street saying, "Oh my God, what have I done?" and making all these like terrified remarks, like saying, like being like complete in her fear and terror, and just like can't even function, screaming and yelling. And then I knew, okay, that was him. It was not done out of spite. It was done out of loss of control. So, of both of them, because keep in mind, significant other, as soon as he was able to be released, the minute he got a hold of a cell phone, he called me and he said, "I am so sorry that I lost control and I did that to you. And I lost control and I did that to you. And I hope you can forgive me for that." And I said, "I completely understand. And I knew he didn't do it out of spite. It was because of his condition. He wasn't medicated." But now here comes the big detail. Both grandfather and him did do something physical that did harm me. But now here comes the twist. One apologized, one has not. And now here comes the bigger whoa. My grandparents hold what my significant other did against them. But now here comes the part where I come around swinging, saying, "Okay, if you're going to look down on him, I'm looking down on grandfather because he has done the exact same thing, except my lover, Joe. He apologized. He didn't." Now, what does that say? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and also significant other is now on medication, and he has not done anything like that ever again. But over here, he's still doing it, in hissy fitting. And he's aware of the problem, but not doing anything about it. So,
one aware of the problem and wanted to fix the problem, and he's growing and evolving, where the other one is basically
yeah, and it's like that. I hate this excuse because it's like, okay, that doesn't mean anything. They're set in their ways. No, because if you're still making the choice to hissy fit, you're still hissy fitting. Yeah. You can, if you're not set in your ways, because that is what's that called? That is enabling behavior.
Yes, there we go. Yes.
It's like, if you're set in your ways, don't enable that. Well, he's a good person, he just doesn't think, or he just has he's just really, like, whatever reason. It's like, no. I have a lot of extreme despair in myself, but usually most of the time nobody else sees it, and I don't throw it around all over the place, but it's like, come on. But anyway, but that's an example of like how when there's something like that, you can have to use a lot of discernment and check the minor things like that. Because with my significant other, him apologizing, and because I mean, of course, he doesn't know about all the details, but him apologizing and me being in that situation already with the grandfather, that did help calm down a lot of things that grandfather put me through. Yeah, I don't even have words for it, but it did help. It helped me release some of it. That way I wouldn't hold it as much as I used to.
Yeah, it's amazing how much apologies can help.
Yes, and I've told him every time, like, look, if you make a whoopsie, if you come and apologize, you're always going to be forgiven. You're always going to be forgiven, but you have to do it. And, well, he did what I told him to do. So, I don't hold it against him, ever. There you go.
Here's a good question. So, because we grow in wisdom, and actually every emotion can help us grow in wisdom. So let's take anger and see how we can grow. So how can we discern the source of our anger? There you go, Bren. How can you discern the source if it goes deeper than just injustice, like you were talking about?
Well, now, the source of the anger, well, in order for you, well, again, this may be kind of where you have to see, like, for an example, how they respond to how things are in exist, like how people are responding to, like, say, somebody getting acquitted for a trial that involved the one that was found guilty of, like, say, unaliving children, and now the judge is letting them off the hook, and how the people viewing that are responding to it. They get that anger because it's like, this twathead just took the lives of children, and then he's getting a slap on the wrist. But now when you have the same thing, and now the judge is like giving the big slam, and they get, their and how they respond to that. Because usually injustice or being, like, unfairly treated is one of the main things that causes an individual to table flip. Because that's a spectrum where not everybody's going to see things as fair, but at the same time there is being truly just, and then there is how do we say this? Let's just say we have some bills going behind the judge's back, which that is that's not just. But anyway, but then there's also this kind of anger when you have somebody that you're, like, say, dating, and then they become a two-timer. Oh. You can also see if somebody gets so upset, agitated. Actually, here's probably the best example. Oh, Queen Hera. Yeah, I'm talking about your husband. Why, I wish you didn't have to marry him. Man, hooch. But anyway. Yep, he is. Oh, God, the voice crack. Oh, God. But he is, though. When you have somebody being a two-timer, and then you see the person that they were with first, originally, take action and get rid of the other party, are they going it out of envy, jealousy, or are they going at it to defend their vow? But in, like, the way that the tale was written, when Zeus and Hera got wedded, everybody except one Cena, just one. Yeah, because she was so slow that she didn't make it in time. Everybody was in attendance. So there is no excuse. No excuse that none of those others that Zeus went hoo-hoo with, no excuse for them not to go. Your Majesty, Queen Hera, your man's coming after me. But none of them did it. So it's like, you knew, but you didn't act. So, Hera, her going after him. Hey, I'm looking like she has the right to defend her vow. That's what she's doing. If they really didn't want that to happen, why didn't they speak up? Why didn't they just say, Your Majesty, your husband again? But that's a point where I'm looking at, it's like, was she really jealous, or was she taking action to defend the vow that she had with him? Interesting.
It is very interesting. Well, even when we look at, like, let's look at Sekhmet for an example. Yes. Like, the Egyptians were not being respectful to her father, the god Ra. And so she went to teach him a lesson. And what did she do? She basically wiped out ancient Egypt. She was like, you know what? Respect my dad. And it got bad. It got really bad. So I'm not going to give the whole story now, but it got so bad. And then Ra was like, ooh, I gotta kind of control my daughter a little bit. We got to calm her down. And which he did. And then she did her healing. This is why she is a goddess of destruction and healing. So we all have that ability within us, and it's how are we going to use it? And so, like, I think it is really important to discern the anger. Like, are we doing this to protect somebody who's been treated unfairly? Are we protecting ourselves for being treated unfairly? Is this like from a trauma that you just haven't really dealt with? I mean, that can happen because it is one of the stages of grief. And how often do you maybe lose somebody that you love so much in your life, whether it's your fur baby or human, and you're angry at the higher power for taking them from you? Or are you angry because you didn't do something that you thought you could to help? So I think when we discern the source, that can actually help us out, because again, like Bren and I are saying, anger can be healthy, but anger can also be really unhealthy. And when we let it get to the unhealthy levels, it actually makes us unhealthy. And I think like another thing, like, well, when you look at serial unalivers, like a lot of them had something weird in their childhood. When forensic scientists study, their psychologists study them, some of them, it was physical, emotional, and sensual meanness that happened. Sorry, I was trying to think of what word you used before. So we'll just say meanness. And some of them, we don't, each of them different, but that is like unhealthy anger because it came out to where, they serially unalived other people. Why? And that's not for us to discern their anger. We can only discern our own and make sure that we don't get to those unhealthy levels. I think that's like the most important thing. Again, like, it's okay. Like, all of our emotions, that's like one thing I really want to stress is like any emotion you feel, sadness, anger, grief, frustration, happiness, whatever you feel, whenever you feel it, you are entitled to your feelings. So that's really important. And sometimes we do have to have that healthy anger. We have to let it out because we're frustrated. I know, like, when I was going through my dark time, part of my anger, well, I had a lot of anger to the person that caused the trauma, but there were a few people I got angry at and I just snapped at them. I did later apologize, but some of them were like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And they kept saying that to me. And I was just like, that's the last thing I want to hear right now. When you're in that dark space, you can't say, no, there's a light, let it go. Sometimes that's not like the best thing to say. It's like what I needed was somebody to listen. That was the most important thing, is for me to be able to say, I'm angry because I just needed that person to listen. So when you are angry, like with discerning your anger, A couple of questions that go with that are like, is your anger justified? And again, this is all your feelings can be justified, but what got it to that point? What is the root cause of the anger? And what effect is that anger having like on you or on other people around you? And then consider your anger response. Is it personal hurt? Is it selfish desire? Is it injustice, like a real injustice? And then seek guidance from a spiritual mentor or a counselor. And sometimes it's just telling somebody, I'm angry because, and then just fill in the blank. That makes you feel good. But, like when you start to become destructive, or it turns into that hate that I was just talking about, that I talked about earlier, that can be unhealthy, not only for you, but for people around you. I don't know if you want to add anything else on the discerning the anger, Bren.
Yes, and I will also say this too. When, like, probably the best example was that incident where I turned on myself and having such anger and disgust towards myself for believing that because my significant other at the time, me thinking that he did pass away, I turned on myself thinking that, well, it's your fault, kid. If you did love him, he'd still be here. It's your fault, kid. It's gone. You didn't try hard enough. Having that anger, I mean, it is a place where it almost took my life. I almost took my own life because of that. That's how scary it can get. And when you get pushed down to that extreme, I know it sounds like why would that even happen? But when you're in that intensely emotional state, it can blind you so bad that you can't even control your body because you're that like that anger of yourself. You can't stop it. And it sounds so simple to stop, get control, and seek help. But in the moment, no, 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 no.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like, you have to go through it. I mean, you really do.
Yes, you have to. I mean, at least, gosh. Oh, I mean, it was at least 6 to 7 days locked in that apartment, just going ham on myself
Yeah.
until like I couldn't even feel anything. Then like I passed out, but I couldn't even tell because it was all black in there. Then as soon as I was like able to still like feel my body, whatever, that jolted me back up, and I just went at it again and again and again until the last day where almost ended it, and then hell came and said, "Get up." Okay.
That guidance. Yeah, see, I had like similar when I was going through my dark time. I was like so angry, and then by weird chance we had a horrible, horrible storm, and water was just everywhere. Like a lot of people's basements were flooding, and so I'm sitting there trying to find a shop vac, and I've got all this stuff going on from this trauma we dealt with, and now I've got water coming in my basement. I was so upset. And then like you couldn't, like, my basement didn't start to flood as quickly as like other people's, so shop vacs were like disappearing. And then by weird chance a friend called and said, I'm just checking on people, because her house was fine and her husband was home, so she was checking on single parents that didn't have any help. And I'm like, I've got water, I can't talk. And she's like, do you have a shop vac? I'm like, no. I'm like, I can't find one, but I can't leave. Like I was like literally using I have had a carpet cleaner. I was using the carpet cleaner, but it wasn't doing much just because more water was coming in. So, and carpet cleaners only get that little bit of water from the carpet. So it was like horrible. And she's like, all right, 40 minutes later, she found a shop vac, went and bought it for me, and then brought hers. And her and I were sitting there cleaning, and then she left. And I'll never forget, like, something else happened that just triggered me. And I was so angry, so angry. And I'm yelling at my higher power. I'm like, why are you doing all of this to me? You know, I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? And I kicked the heck out of my washing machine, massive dent in the clothing washing machine. And then I just sat down in the flood water. And there wasn't like a ton because we'd gotten a lot of it, but I just sat down in it and my kids were like, "Oh, our mom's losing it." And like looking at their little faces, it's a little bit different. Like I think if I had been alone, I would have reacted a lot different and probably would have been scarier. But looking at their little faces and going, "Oh, you know, I'm not handling this situation well." But I had had a lot of pent up anger and I needed to let it out. And I think with like we have to be careful. Like with again, anger is healthy, but if we let it fester and not, I mean, whether you're journaling it, whatever it is, you've got to manage it. Which brings me to the next question. How can we manage our anger spiritually? So, Brent, I'm going to let you answer. I
Well,
mean, I kind of gave us a little hint of your personal experience, but yeah.
I see here. Now, there are certain deities, gods, goddesses, deva and devis, that you can offer your anger to by doing like, but now keep in mind, big butts ahoy. Keep in mind, when you're doing anything like a war dance, keep in mind which culture you're doing. And if it's part of American Native, please have the guidance of a wise man or medicine man or shaman from that tribe guide you through it to do it correctly. And you have to get their permission. Don't just up and do it. Damn it. But anyway, because when doing those war dances, you're letting your anger out, you're letting that energy out. And that is a way that you can offer it to the deities. That, like, for example, you could even do, well, because Mars, of course, or like Aries, doing like ritualistic anger. I mean, it's like even doing crap. What's that called? What is that called? I just had it and I lost it. Martial arts kata, where you're like going against an invisible opponent and really getting into it. That is a way that you can channel and get that anger out. And besides, going against an invisible opponent, I mean, heck,
You're not hurting anybody.
you're not hurting anybody, and at the same time, it's also helping your visualization skills. That is also, it's speaking of that. That is precisely why I tell everybody, you want to get into practicing the occult and all the witchcraft and all that stuff? Learn martial arts, because that's how you're able to focus, direct energy, and being able to focus. And at the same time, your physical body is getting trained, your mental is able to stay focused, visualization gets enhanced. It's a win-win across the board, so why not? Besides, you can get fancy creative with it too. That's what I got.
I like that because, like again, like I kind of talked about, like consulting a spiritual, like if you've got, a shaman that you work with, or a high priestess or a high priest that you work with, a lot of times it's just them listening can help you get that anger out, or they may find something. I know, like one of my daughters, one day she just like had like poster board and had taken, because I had like a craft box, and it had like acrylic paint for when we would paint whatever. And she was just flicking it. And she was like, I'm just so mad. And she'd put colors on the brush and was just flicking it on the poster board. And it was actually like, it turned out really cool. This anger, this anger poster board turned out really cool. But I was still really angry because I was not quite done with my dark time. And I was like, I just joined in. I grabbed one and I grabbed a poster board and I was just like going, and it was really like relieving. So sometimes arts can actually also help relieve some of that tension. I think about like my son when he was little, he was angry, and the teacher asked them to draw a picture of how they felt. And he drew a picture and he had like a scowl on it. Like you could just tell it was like an angry picture. And I got called into this school, and I knew my son was going through a lot. So I'm like, well, here's what's going on. And I'm like, I understand the picture. And they were like, you know what? We understand it now too. They were just really concerned because it was angry. Um, but like he felt better. Like I talked to him about it and he's like, I felt better after I drew it. So sometimes like art helps. Even if you like, I'm not a very good artist, I'll be honest. I can't, I wish I could like draw, but I can't. So that's like one thing. And like Bren was saying, working with your higher power or your deities, whether it's a god or a goddess, and it doesn't matter what religion or spiritual path you're on, that can help you. Um, so this is really hard. Forgiveness, that's a whole other topic, but forgiveness can help too, because sometimes we need to let go of those grudges or the anger that we might have um, towards a situation, or, it's also like when we're in the grief process, we need to get to that next step. And anger may be the first thing you have, or it may be the third thing you have. So, but have grace with yourself. Don't be like, well, I'm so angry, but I can't let it go right now. It's okay. Like, it's okay to not have forgiveness right away. It really is. So Bren was talking about martial arts. Martial arts is a really great way to concentrate. So is like yoga and Tai Chi. You think about it, like, seriously, like, the Asian cultures, they know a lot more. Like, we really need to open up that wisdom because they have some really intense wisdom when you think about it. But meditation and reflection, especially like when you meditate on the root cause of the anger. And sometimes the anger might be, you might think, well, oh, it was the person who took the last loaf of the bread that I like at the store. I'm angry at them. Like when you start to actually reflect, you might find out it was when you were little, you got in a big fight with your brother and he bit your hand because over a piece of bread, right? So maybe that's what that didn't happen to me. I was just making something up, but it could be something that happened a long time ago that like a new situation may have reminded you of it. And so you have a lot of anger. But recognizing and practicing compassion for yourself and for the situation, and know that, like, again, your emotions are valid and you are entitled to your emotions. And if somebody like criticizes you for it, just be frank with them and just say, hey, you know what? I'm upset because of this. I'm angry because of this. And I need to vent. I don't want your advice. I don't want you to tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I need to just let this out in my own time, in my own space. And I need someone to listen. And that gets us to someone that can listen. I mean, sometimes all we really need is someone to listen. Sometimes that's the easiest thing. But another thing I did think of, like, there's those places now where you can go smash things, or like if you want to throw axes, which I would be scared of throwing an axe. I know they have like,
Room.
but I could just see myself like dropping it on my foot. So I'm like, and I've seen like a Mountain Man Rendezvous where they actually have those axe throwing contests to see who can throw it the furthest and get at the target. And it's just so cool. But like that is a talent. So yeah, I would not do one of those, but the smash places, that might be actually kind of fun when you're angry, or even just fun. I don't know. Anything I mentioned, Bren? Did you think of anything else?
Yes, I just remember too. I'm actually going to put something up as my background. This was an art piece that I made of Ma Kali, and I was quite agitated when I made it. Hold on, let me pull it up on the screen, give that a flip. Okay, we're going to go over here, we're going to press this button, we're going to go all the way over here, all the way, thank you. Then we're going to wait for that to load, press that button, then kerpow.
Ooh, it's really cool though, even though you were angry.
Yeah, but when I was making this. Ah, I mean, me just really looking at it again, it's like I'm getting those feelings again. I mean, I just grabbed little, my little stylus that I work with on my little pad. I just went ham with it. I just went crazy with it. Of course, with the GIMP thing, I have something on there that kind of like makes the edges and everything look pretty, but still going ham on it, and just kept going and going until I got exhausted. Then when I got that feeling of anger again, it just came back over and it just went through again and kept doing that over and over. And bam, the war cry of the Dark Mother. That's what that's called.
Ooh. And see, like, look, like, it doesn't matter why you were angry.
Uh huh.
You let it out and you let it out in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's something beautiful from it.
Yep.
The beauty of anger.
Yep. It is. It is because emotions, believe it or not, you can use your emotions as a form of art. Even like how like in some like even some things of like what is that called? Like the Shakespearean insults, and how some of them are kind of a little bit outlandish and completely outrageous. You nincompoop hockey scallywag you. Yeah, that's why I love Shakespeare so much. But anyway, it shows how you can get creative with it.
Yeah, it does. Which begs, like I was saying, I can't draw, but like I can do weird paint things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, writing. I mean, I've written when I've been like really sad or really angry. Sometimes I get the best poems where I'm like, I've even had like friends who've been like, "Gosh, this poem is so good," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I was really mad." It's like, but yeah, like that anger was worth it because look at what came out. So, yeah, creative outlets are really great. I know, like, I also sometimes I'll knit, um, and that actually calms me down. But it doesn't like really like express as much as like a poem would or artwork. But yeah, thank you for sharing, Bren. That is like absolutely wonderful. Always good. We get everything here, so we get and we give. All right. Okay, here is the $1 million question. Okay, maybe not $1 million yet. How does anger affect spiritual growth?
I'm gonna go with the bamboozle here. It can help project you to get yourself and push yourself to a better state, into a hell of more higher state of awareness. I'm so tired of living like this. I want out of this. That anger gives you the love tap to improve yourself. There you go. That's using it positively.
Yeah. Yes, that is beautiful. Yeah. The unmanaged anger will hinder spiritual growth, especially if it festers into hate. So I think that's like one thing that's really important. And we can have that anger and have grace for ourselves. It's something that we can definitely do because we are, again, entitled to our feelings. So important for us to remember that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that again, because this just brought this back. Like what I said before, your feelings are your facts and only yours. That's it. Your feelings are your facts, not nobody else's.
Yeah. Yes.
And when somebody comes and saying, "Oh, you shouldn't feel like that," or "Oh, just stay positive," no, we're gonna sit. You're gonna deal with it. This is how it is, and that's my fact. If somebody tries to like push it down or say, "I can't handle you with your feeling this way and being this way," that doesn't sound like my problem, does it? That sounds like your issue. You should fix that. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also even when you deal with like someone that you love that's angry and maybe their anger, you're like, oh, this isn't healthy. Like judging them is going to make it worse. So that's also something to keep in mind. 'Cause I got that when you were saying that. 'Cause like Yeah, when you're angry and somebody's like, well, I don't like you like this or something like that, that just makes it worse.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean, if like, because I mean, everybody's guilty of it. I'm definitely guilty of it. But whenever mine gets into like he gets upset, it's just a natural reflex of mine. I always say, "What's going on, love?" If he just says, I don't want to talk right now." All right, I'm over here if you need me. That's as simple. Of course, I'm not going to be all like, "Ah, babe, why you always got to be mad about things that don't mean anything?" No, oh, no, 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 no. I'll be in the next Jackass movie if I do that.
Hmm. Well, and then it comes into like, well, we had talked about Mars and dealing with Mars, how we express ourselves in fighting, but that would be like how we express ourselves when we're angry. And I've had times where my husband and I have like we don't have a lot of fights, but he likes to just get it all sorted out right away. And I have to walk away. Like I have to have that minute to walk away and think about it. And so finding that balance for us sometimes is hard, but like know who like if you've just had a Mars experience, know the person that you're dealing with, like know how do they have to deal with it? Is it like they need to walk away and have a little time to breathe? Do they want to deal with it right away? Are they going to, is the anger going to get elevated? Um, you have a
Yeah, yeah, that is. Oh, that also does remind me. Here's a challenge for everybody. Yes, especially you who's listening. You have a partner or a significant other. Here's your challenge. However they handle anger, that is how now you're going to handle that anger. Now you do the exact same thing as them, and make yourself experience it, and see how it is, and try your best to get it from that perspective to understand them better. Because once you do that and you understand that better, when a clash happens, you know exactly how to adapt to them. And when you do that, you're mirroring, and that helps bring you back closer.
Yep, that's fixing it. That's fixing it. Mm-hmm. So beautiful.
You get some Venusian thing in here, just like that.
Yes, we can. And we can move from Mars to Venus. We're all good here. And if you did miss our topics on the planets, because we dive deep, and we also talk about how we can use it when we're dealing with our significant others or family members or partners. I do play those replays on YouTube and on my Patreon. So please feel free if you don't, if you're not following me, make sure to follow me. Make sure to follow Bren because we love followers and we love having a beautiful circle of people. But yes, you can hit my bio link in the bio and it will take you right. You can just pick the Patreon or YouTube and you can subscribe so you can watch those as they post. But yes, because yeah, the Mars is really important when we talk about anger. So, and understanding how we are actually with our zodiac sign. Like, what is your sign in your Mars? Because that's also going to help you understand how you process your anger. So that's also really important. So yeah, if you missed that replay, please definitely go check it out.
Yes, I mean, here's an example. Oh boy, here we go. Me, my Mars, is pissed off. He's in Cancer. It's instead of him being on the battlefield with his shield and spear and Spartan hat. Yeah, no, he's not there. What? Wait, why am I wearing this chef hat? Here you go, Mars. A cookie sheet, and here's your rolling pin. Rolling pin? Urgh. Mars, no, 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 no. You can't be getting so loud. You're gonna wake the children up. Urgh. So Mars in Cancer. Now, it is believed to be perhaps one of the absolute most emotionally cruel placements for Mars to be in, because the anger and the energy can attack and swing at the parts of somebody's, like the deepest part of their nurture. Can swing at the feelings and emotions and the sense of security. Because the Mars in Cancer, if they get pushed, well, there was that time in Palm Springs where some twat got a gut check pretty hard, and he sounded like a winded walrus. Yeah, but again, if this Mars in Cancer doesn't have the means to have self control, That it can be a bit of a problem having control of that anger. But if you can have that control, yes. But Mars and Cancer, you go after anybody that this Mars and Cancer deems as family, especially their own family or significant other. You better hope you can camouflage yourself very well because they will chase after you and they will not rest until they give you a bonk.
Yes. So, all right. So I had one more question. I was hoping we'd have a couple more people on panel, but um, is your anger like, so we just talked about like how it can affect our spiritual growth and how it can become a barrier. It can become a barrier to our deities or our higher power. So if you have anger, is your anger directed at your deity and why?
Now, that's an interesting question because here's the thing. Depending on the specific deity, now, not every deity has the capacity to understand you in a different state of, like, say, for an example, you're in that extremely angered state. You're now trying to reach out to, say, like, Aphrodite. She's probably not going to respond. She's going to think, boy, chill. No, I'm not dealing with you. But now, when you have, say, a deity like Hell, who I'm already getting emotional because it's just, ugh. But Hell, whenever you need her, she responds. She doesn't care. She's like, you're upset? Why? Why are you mad? And you just let it all out, and she just holds that space. Doesn't flinch, doesn't do anything, sits there. Because she knows that this has to be gone through. Does she like it? Don't matter. It has to be done. But not all deities have that awareness and that strength to understand that. And that takes, and I mean, that's why people also say that, like, the deities over, the underworld and those that pass away and kicking the bucket, they're seen as like the quote unquote dark, but they are usually the ones that will bring you, like, go at you at any state of where you're at and just sit with you and just listen. Even at the worst, they'll just sit there.
Yeah,
That's deep.
it's very deep. Yeah, I do have to say, like, when I left Christianity, I feel closer to the deities that I work with. And actually, like, for me, like, Sekhmet was like a huge help for me to get out of my anger. And it's not like she said, "Oh, it's bad to be angry" or anything like that. And I had no reason to be mad at her. And I wasn't mad at her, but like it was so much. It's just that helping hand. It like you said, she listened and she healed. She helped me heal. So I think that's like super important. Yes. So remember that we can build relationships, and it doesn't matter what religious or spiritual pathway you're on. Your higher power, the deities, the gods, the goddesses that you work with, they are there for you, and the relationship you build with them, they will help you through the process of anger. Definitely. All right, Bren, anything else you want to add about anger?
Well, all I can really say is that anger is necessary just as much as any of the other emotions, feelings, and any of that. Is just as important. Because if you deny anger, you're turning your back on yourself. Every feeling, every emotion, every bit of it is still you, and it's a part of you. You cut off and block one part of it, you're blocking your whole self off. And you're denying yourself your authenticity. Don't do that. None of that.
Yes, don't ever always be authentic. I accept your feelings. They are valid. Your feelings are 100% valid. Even if other people don't recognize it. I know, like, I expressed myself to someone, um, over a situation, and their communication came across in a certain way. And I was a little angry. They ghosted me. I was like, okay, so I bare my soul and you ghosted me. But what I learned from that, because that made me a little angry. What I learned from that, though, for myself was I did what I needed to do. And, there, we never know if somebody's going to apologize or if they're going to be like, oh, yes, we did have like a miscommunication that we need to fix. Um, but when we learn about our anger, like, how can we walk through it? And we don't need to look at anger as good or bad because it's valid and we're valid and our authentic selves are more important than whether you deem an emotion good or bad. Um, and we are going to have anger all the time, like not all the time, but we're going to have anger in and out of our lives. Just like we're going to be happy, we're going to be sick, we're going to be sad, like we're going to have all these emotions. I think the biggest thing is just make sure that you don't let that anger fester and become hate, because then that will be a downfall. I mean, I could have very easily done that, but I see it with people, and I think unfortunately right now we're seeing it a little more often than not. But yes. So I want to thank everybody. We got like a lot of hearts, and I want to thank for the gifts. They're so appreciated, never expected, but always appreciated. We are live on Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Sunday, we are doing chapter 2 of The Spiral Dance by Starhawk, and I forgot how much I love this book. So it's like always nice to reread some of these books. And then Tuesday, ooh, we're so excited. So we do Tuesday tarot and we do 1-card readings, but this Tuesday is going to be special. So starting this next week, for 78 weeks, we are going to spend a little time talking about the cards, about a specific card from the tarot deck, and then we'll do the 1-card reading. So this week is the Fool.
Yep, and in some decks they call him the Fool, the Joker, or I like to call him the Idiot.
Yes. So yeah, and so we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll show a couple different cards and we're just going to have a lot of fun. So please join us for Tuesday Tarot and then Witchy Book Club this Sunday with The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. And please, please, please don't forget to subscribe or follow both Bren and I so that you know when we go live, and then you'll get to see some of the fun stuff we post. And our book after Spiral Dance, because fingers crossed, Bren, you'll be published by then. So we'll be Bren's book.
My book is published.
Oh, it is. Okay. So yes, we'll be reading Nick's.
The primordial goddess with the cosmos sewn in her veil.
Yes.
Actually, I think I have a picture. Hold on.
Yes. So we'll be doing the Spiral Dance for another 12 weeks. So that means in 13 weeks, we will start Bren's book. So to get Bren's book, you do need to go to his bio, and he's got a link there so that you can get his book. So I'll get mine. So, and he's going to show us. It's actually really gorgeous. He's shown it a couple times, but always worth it to show it every single time we're live.
Yeah, I'm just going to see here. We're in front of my face. Okay, let's see. We're gonna go scrolly McDolly. Where the bloody heck did it go? Oh, there it is. Boop.
Yes, there we go. So, very, very exciting. So this was going to be our 3rd book for Witchy Book Club. So it will be in 13 weeks. We'll be doing it. So yeah, I've got to get it early so I can figure out how we'll divide it out. Unless Bren, if you want to just message me and say this is how we should do it, we're all good. So cause we've got 13 weeks. So,
yeah, we got 13 weeks.
Yeah, not like we need it tomorrow. So we've got lots of fun. Like we have a lot planned. So we're very excited. So Bren, I'll let you, like, if you want to like throw anything else out there, and also if you want to do your goodbye, I'll let you have the floor for a minute.
Yes. So, yes, the link to get the book is in the bio, of course, and it's not that long. It's only about, say, only 40 pages long, but it's about $15, give or take. But keep in mind, this does include every reference to Nyx that I could muster. I have been looking everywhere from soup to nuts to make sure I got every single one that I could. But keep in mind, there's also certain for like lost texts that we may have not found yet that may mention her. But keep in mind, that's all that I could find in there. Then there's also the understanding of Nyx, like how she's going to be interacting with, most likely, possibly, how to approach her, how to make an altar space, and how to have the aligning correspondences and how to really build that connection with her. Then after all of that, then there's the how to make the altar space, and even one that is so simple, you don't even need to do anything except just close your eyes. There's your altar space. I go into all detail in that book.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So that will be our third book for Witchy Book Club.
So long, farewell. Line, what's the line again? We'll figure it out next year.
We do it every week. Thank you so much, Bren. Thank you so much for being on panel. I always love having you here. Okay, so don't miss us on Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we discuss Chapter 2 of The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. And as always, merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.